Stabilizers are an easy and inexpensive way to tune your existing gear, and this is how Slingshot is planning to fill the gap. As a surfer, I hate foiling for having so many possibilities to tune and trim your gear. Back in the days, I had a surfboard, maybe 2 different volumes, I had a couple of fins and a leash, and that's it. Now, there's almost endless possibilities to fine-tune your gear. Out of the box, most Slingshot sets and lowers are well balanced, and most of them will have the PS400 as a stabilizer. So I started off on the old system, the Infinity 84, with a massive stabilizer. Then I stepped down to a smaller stabilizer and a smaller front wing, the Infinity 76, and I progressed into the Phantasm series, the PTM 926, which was my go-to foil for almost 2 years. But the PS400 was a little bit too big and it felt like I was on a track, which is nice because it gives you a safe and tracked in feeling. It generates a lot of lift and makes your learning curve really steep. But after a while, if you get into a little bit more jumping maybe or freestyle, the PS400 might be just too stable, especially in the pitch and the yaw. Asking for more speed and agility, you could step down to the PS325. This is my go-to stabilizer on the PTM series, especially on the PTM 930 and 825. It's faster, it's looser, it still has a little bit of rebound and front foot pressure, so they're easy to ride and control and really nice in jumping. But there was a huge gap between the PS400 being too big and the PS325 being a little bit too small, especially for the G series. Riding the G900, G800 and 700, I was just lacking a little bit of pitch control. So for me there was not enough pressure on my front foot, and as much as I loved the PS325 in combination with the PTM series, I didn't like it with the G series. And now Slingshot is finally filling the gap. We now have the all-new PS360 and PS340. This is a strange looking stabilizer, but I know exactly why they made it and why it looks like it looks. So let's take a look at the PS360 first. It's got an awkward shape, it's really well made. They have a new packaging, like the packaging used to be really good for a small stabilizer and now it's really thin and small. It comes with a neoprene cover and they are absolutely fantastic. Like from all foil companies, they have the best covers. On subfoil, for example, for different sizes you have only one cover, which sometimes fits good, sometimes not. But the Slingshot neoprene covers are custom made, they're really nice. Let me show you. This is the cover for the stabilizer. You can see it looks like a boomerang and it's a tight and perfect fit and I just love them. And even the corners, they're special material, they are stronger, and I never had any problems with the zippers, and I've used them for ages and I just love them. So let's go back to the stabilizer. It's more or less dead flat. The winglets are missing and it's got an awkward shape. And this shape, I think it's really nice. I like it from the look and I like it from the functionality. So let's go back to the PS325 on the G series. I said it was dropping in pitch and that was the only thing I didn't like. The PS400 was way too tracked. It's a lot of lift, it was easy to ride. Maybe for an intermediate it's the perfect stabilizer, but for me, wanting to have a little bit more pitch for freestyle and jumping maneuvers, the PS400 was too big and the PS325 was missing the front foot pressure. So what does this shape do? It's smaller, so it gives you more agility overall. It's missing the winglets, giving you more jaw control in tight turns and maybe some cutbacks in smaller waves. At the same time, it's generating a lot of pitch stability by having the surface area stretched out to the bottom. This is like making your fuselage maybe an inch longer, giving you more control. So instead of having a straight outline like the PS340, this will give you speed, agility, and pitch control at the same time. So the PS360 rides really well on the G series. It's nice for the PTM series, but as a lighter rider like I am with 65 kilograms, I even prefer the PS340 or even the PS325. So let's take a look at the PS340. There's a little bit of dihedral, it's hard to tell, but there's a little bit of dihedral to it. There's tiny winglets, they're small, so you will have a really nice free feeling in the yaw. The smaller surface area will give you a lot of freedom and a lot of curvy and surfy feel in the pitch and in the roll, but it's a little bit bigger than the PS325, making it just more accessible to intermediate riders or heavier riders. So for heavier riders, a step down from the PS400 to the PS325 sometimes was just too much. And on the G series, I didn't like the 325 because of the laking front foot pressure, but that's personal preference. So this is where the PS340 comes in really handy. I like it on the G series once I get a little bit more wind, and I like it on low windy days on the PTM 930 and 825. I still go down to the PS325 on more windy days, but here the 340 feels a little bit more free in the yaw because the winglets are not so big, and I think this would be a really nice pumping wing. So even while winging, I do a lot of pumping, I do a lot of turns and curves, jumps and tricks, and this is where small stabilizers like the PS340 and 325 really accelerates. So as a conclusion, I think Slingshot did a really good job in filling the gap with not too many options, but more than enough options to fine-tune your setup. So I think the PS400 is still for bigger guys and maybe low windy days. I'm not gonna ride it, I'm gonna replace it with a PS360 just because it gives me a lot more surfy feeling and more freedom in pretty much any direction. I will also replace the PS400 on the G series with a PS340 on more windy days and use the PS340 on low wind days on my PTM series, especially on the PTM 930 and the PTM 825 on a little bit more windy days. And I probably will go back to the PS325 or if I have enough wind, and maybe I will try to sand down the winglets to give it a similar shape like the PS345. Anyways, thank you Slingshot for giving us more options, and like I said at the beginning of the video, stabilizers are a really easy and inexpensive way to fine-tune your equipment. They really make a difference and it's so easy to change them. One more thing, change your mast position. The smaller the stabilizer, the more the front wing needs to be moved forward. Like going from a PS400 to a PS325, I need to change my mast position 4 centimeters forward to have the same feeling without changing the straps. So if you change the stabilizer, maybe going from a PS400 to a PS360, it's only a centimeter, or you could take the same position, but if you're stepping down even further towards the PS340 or PS325, you probably have to play around a little bit. If you have some questions, use the comments below, and I see you soon. Take care. And as a little bonus goodie for all those who are still watching, I tell you what's in the box when you get yourself a new stabilizer. It comes in a shrink down version of the old packaging, which is nice because it's less waste. It comes with 2 screws, which are the same we had before. It's M6 18 millimeters. On the old like 22, 23 edition, they had these writings like they do on the front wings. It makes sense on the front wings because usually the one in the middle is thicker or longer and the other ones are smaller, but on the stabilizers they had the same screw for years and they are the same on the new ones. Like I said, M6 16 18, M6 18. And like I said before, it comes with a really nice neoprene cover, and I can't say it often enough, this is my favorite cover. Thank you, Slingshot.